We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies. Welcome back to Deal Junkies. Oh my gosh. I'm Gabe Johansson. I'm here in the studio today with Trevor GPT, Dane McKinney. Dane's going to get a new nickname now that he crashed our boat. We bought a new boat. We set up a partnership. First mistake, we bought a boat. Second mistake, we let Dane park the boat.
So not true.
I think
I'm good at parking the boat.
He says, "Look at this scratch." I went and looked at it, and I'm surprised the boat didn't sink. This is a really nice boat too, by the way.
So is it actually just a scratch, Dane?
No, don't look at it, Trevor. When you go,
it's pretty bad.
No, I mean it's like there's a little bit of fiberglass repair.
This is part of boat ownership.
Probably be done.
Can you patch the fiberglass and it's fine?
It'll be cake.
It'll probably cost less than the wakeboard rack that Trevor ripped off.
That is true.
I did not rip off the wakeboard rack.
When he wrapped the rope around the wakeboard.
I've never wakeboarded before, and I get back there
at the rope, fully taut.
I'm trying to
but
not
on the
drown.
Side of the boat. It's just pulled to the side of the boat.
You had a
Trevor
life
says,
There's
"Good to go."
8 of you on the boat. I'm trying to keep my head above water.
Directly up.
I'm trying to figure out how to get up and what we're about to do here.
You're looking at the rope.
You have a life vest on. You're supposed to be watching where the rope is to tell us if it gets wrapped around.
No one told me that.
He's looking straight up.
I thought I'm just supposed to tell you when I'm good to go.
We didn't think we had to. That seems.
I've never wakeboarded.
Oh, hey guys, by the way, the rope is tied to a rock. Like, or the wakeboard rack. Like,
Thank goodness it was not wrapped around Dane's neck. It would have ripped his head clean off.
And then I wouldn't have to hear him talk anymore.
Oh my god!
No ownership. Okay. That's fine.
Okay, so what are we gonna call it? What are we gonna call Dane? Crash?
No. Oh, I kind of like that actually.
He's Sonic the Hedgehog, I thought, but
we'll call him.
What was that? Yeah, where did that come from?
It's a haircut.
Haircut. Yeah, you have kind of a Sonic hairdo going on.
That. I was pretty fast before I.
All right, so we're gonna talk about real estate. I know that's why everybody's here. We want to cover a couple of things today. So we will talk about deals. I think Dane's going to pitch me on a deal later in this episode. But first, we want to go back. Travis Dillard, we want to thank him again for coming to the SRE. So Trevor here, as part of Deal Junkies, puts on the SRE, Salem's Real Estate Investor Meetup. It happens
first Wednesday of every month.
First Wednesday of every month. It's at the Sassy Onion on State Street in Salem. 5:30 p.m. sign in. So this month in July, Travis Dillard was our special speaker. Travis has a large portfolio of MHP. He's an RV park, mobile home park guy. He loves that asset type, but he gave a presentation that I think was really important. One of the things I liked about his presentation was he kind of recapped his main points like 4 or 5 different times in 4 or 5 different ways, which for my thought process was really helpful to kind of concrete it, cement it in. Mm-hmm. So one of the slides he put up really stood out to me, and I took a picture of it. I think a few people took a picture of this, and we've mentioned before in other prior episodes, the whole what have we been taught in the past? We grow up, our parents teach us some things about money, success, our teachers, our peers, wherever this information comes from, and there's sort of this thing where our society says you've got to go to school, get good grades, so that you can get into college, so that you can get a good job, so that you can make good money and buy a house and get a 401k. Mm-hmm. And this is the path to retirement and ultimate, I guess, financial freedom, or so they say.
This is just how you're supposed to do life.
Right. And I don't think that anybody at least a few years ago, if you go 5 or 10 years ago and back, I don't remember a lot of people talking about how this plan didn't work anymore. And still today, it's just one of those things. It's kind of like the food pyramid that, 80% of your diet should be, grains or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
I mean, there was somewhere along the way they came up with something, everybody bought into it,
And then we were
and
wait a
then
second.
we all learned that's probably not the best way, but then it's still sort of
out there.
pervasive
Mhm.
in just sort of the common thought process. So these are the things we've been taught, and I'll read to you the slide. You want me to just go through the whole thing first, and we'll go through one by one, or do you just want to start at the beginning?
Yeah, go through it first.
Yeah, let's go through.
Okay, so this is what we've been taught. This is society's, and I'm just going to read his slide. Society's conventional wisdom for success is one, you got to go to school, you got to go to high school because you got to learn how to raise your hand to go to the bathroom, and you got to get into college. Number two, you go to college, and in college, and this is really where it starts to, this is really where it spoke to me. It says you got to learn to be a worker bee, but in that process, are you leveraging the college, or is the college leveraging you? And so when you look at who's making money on college, it's not the students, it's the college. So somebody prepared you to go to school to pay somebody money to get a further education. Okay, so there might be some collusion in there between our government and the colleges and universities. Number three, corporate America. So now that you've learned to be a good worker bee, you're going to go work a job, a W-2 job, and you're going to make the company a lot of money. So now who's leveraging who? You're not leveraging the company is leveraging you. Number four is taxes. So you're a W-2 earner, and you're giving away a huge chunk of your paycheck to the government. And now who's leveraging who? Are you leveraging the government, or is the government leveraging you, right? And I think he even brought up he liked to use the word leverage. So now you've been trained by the government to get into a college, to make the college a lot of money, to get a job so you can make the company a lot of money so that the government could come back around and take some of that money from you that you're earning. This is a very sad episode. I'm getting more and more sad as I continue. Okay, 5, so investment wisdom. So this is how they tell us to become financially free. 1, we live cheap. Don't get the latte. Give whatever you have left over to Wall Street. Wall Street is going to make multiples on your money, and you're going to get a 10% return if you're lucky with no cash flow or tax benefits. So you're going to go take you're going to work as hard as you can, get the best job you can. The government's going to take whatever they're going to take, and whatever's left over, you're going to try to live as cheap as possible, like Trevor used to do, and you're going to count every penny, and then you're going to take what's left over, and you're going to put it in a 401k, where Wall Street is going to get rich. So now who's leveraging who? Are you leveraging Wall Street, or is Wall Street leveraging you? So now the stock market's getting rich on you. So you work until, according to the slide number 6, you work until you're 70. You give 40 plus hours a week of your life to somebody else. And then when you get old, you downgrade your life so you can live on your nest egg. So you figure out how to pay off your house. You figure out how to not have any bills and how to not spend money. And you become very frugal. And now you take what you got left in that 401k and you live it out. When you look at it this way, I think everybody listening should be mad.
Dude, I think you could do this podcast solo.
Yeah,
I pretty much do. I've been listening to our old episode. You guys only say like 3 things to keep me going. So
We've started talking more.
I'm gonna be quiet and just let you two run this whole episode.
Oh no.
People
want to hear from you.
Started talking more. No, I have too. On the first couple though, I did not say anything.
Your mom told you.
She did. Yeah, that's why I started talking more.
Okay, so I read the slide. Where do you guys want to go? You want to start at the beginning?
I say start at the beginning and do flaws at each section, I think just flaws.
The flaws in the thinking.
The flaws in the thinking, in the actual system, I guess.
So
okay.
I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with this at all. Like,
with what?
If you're happy and this is what you want to do,
agree.
great. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. But
No.
if you want to go outside the box, yes, you cannot fault. This is the plan to achieve what 80% of the population achieves. If you do it, like you know exactly what the outcome is from doing this and what your life will look like.
But here's where I want to back up a step is very conservative, smart people, very smart people. I have investor friends and even brokers who, their wives are really educated. They're doctors, they're lawyers. I mean, these are really, really smart people. But there's always seems to be somebody in the family that's really educated. And it tends to be in a marriage of a man and a woman. The woman is usually more conservative. And that's what I typically see is like the guy says, yeah, I want to go out and buy deals. I want to do whatever. And it's the wife who says, no.
Risk averse.
You're risk averse. Yeah. We got to be conservative. They want to protect, the nest.
The nest egg.
And that's what women do.
Yeah.
And so typically that thought process, when you start from I've got to protect it all framework, I think that's where you go down the road of
follow this.
I've got to go to school. I've got to get an education. I've got to get a job. But in my mind, it's all for security and safety. But the reality is it's a false security.
Yeah, it's less safe. Yeah.
I mean, you're definitely now giving control to somebody else.
But you don't know.
Okay, well, that's just closing your eyes and saying you can't see me. That's just an illusion. That's not real.
So when you're going to work, you think your money is guaranteed, but you don't know how that business is actually doing and performing that you're working for, and they could be going underwater, and you have no clue that your job is on the ropes. And
even if they're doing very well, there's nothing to say that there's somebody in the back room saying, "Hey, we'd make more money if we got rid of Trevor." I mean, we could rehire his position at 50% the wage that he's making now. Like, there's always a risk of losing your job, whether or not the company is doing well or not doing well. You're not really guaranteed unless you work maybe for the state, in which case it's very, very difficult if you work for the government to get fired. You work for a union or something like that. There might be some other safe ways to do it.
Yeah.
But I just think it's an illusion.
No, I think it is too. There was a guy who was higher up and in a company that was all sales related. Essentially, it was a financial products company. But I was talking with him about who he was kind of hiring for and the idea behind it and what the job would look like. And he starts outlining the role and then the compensation, and it was all commission. There was no guaranteed money. Like day one, you had no salary, and I knew that was something that I wanted. But then I was like, how is that received? And he said, well, it varies person by person. Somebody who wants actual security will come work here because the most security that you can find is in yourself.
That's right.
He says, if you know that you're going to wake up every day and outwork the guys around you, a company cannot fire you because you're producing for them.
Multitude of sales hides a multitude of sins.
No, that's funny. I've never heard that. But it was like the best security that I can have is betting on myself. And I mean, I kind of knew that in my mind.
Is it?
But
that's to Trevor's point.
No, I know.
Some people, their best security is maybe not betting on themselves.
Correct.
They don't have the drive or skill set or bandwidth or guts to do it. And so they have to rely on somebody. I mean, we need employees. The whole world works the way it works because there are people who want that security. The point is if you're entrepreneurial or you're trying to get out of the rat race, whatever that means, and find financial freedom, you have to understand along the way this preconceived notion of this is the path is designed specifically to keep you in a system where everybody is leveraging you to make money.
Yeah, and that system is generally positive, though. You have a more educated society, and people have a goal and something they can work towards that does provide value to them, and they make sense, and they can live off of it. But if you want something outside of that, you cannot follow that path. If you're like, I want more money, I want more whatever it may be, you cannot do the normal thing that everyone is doing.
Well, and so in every meeting I have when I'm mentoring somebody, we talk about now money and tomorrow money. And so some people may not be in their now money. I need to pay my mortgage, my bills, feed my kids and all that. They may not be super entrepreneurial. They may want the safety, get the best paying job I can get at the biggest company or government I can get it at so that I know I've got a base. But then I think it's important for people to understand that is not enough. Buying the house, getting a 401k, doing whatever, it is the path that they have told you to get to retirement does not work. Forget about financial freedom.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to retire. It's not going to happen. You have to step out of that box. So your day-to-day job might be great to cover your expenses, but you're going to have to do something on the side, some sort of investment.
I think you can retire and live happily at the end if you invest wise. Like if you put money in your 401k and you're maxing that thing out year over year, which 90% of people don't, they put the minimum in. But if you're putting your 21k or whatever it is a year into that, you will be fine in 40 years if you start early enough. But most people don't put money in there to start, wait too long, and then it can't grow fast enough.
I agree with Trevor. But I want to clarify to Gabe's point, people don't live like that. Like that's what the so number 5 says, live cheap, don't get the latte. We love getting lattes. That's so the people
instant gratification.
Yeah.
Who's going to delay their gratification for 40 years, not even knowing if I'm going to live that long, to have what, $1 million in my 401k?
You'd have more.
5?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the average person's making, let's say, 80 or 100 grand at the top of their career.
Yeah.
And you're saying they're putting in $21,000 a year to their 401k on average?
If you can max it out, it increases every year.
So you're putting in maybe close to $250,000 every decade. So you put in $1 million, you make $1 million total. You got maybe $2 million there?
No, it'll double quicker than that.
$4 million? My point is if you wait till you're 70,
oh yeah,
$2-3 million is not going to do anything. An entry-level house is going to be $2 or $3 million.
Yeah, by the time we're 70.
Yeah, but there's a couple ways to look at it too. So you can set that aside, and I think you can have enough money. The average person can totally do it. Yeah. You're going to work a job the whole time, and then you have to find happiness that whole time at your job, though, which if you can do so, awesome. If you're going, like, think about people that work for you. Some people love showing up. They love what they're doing. They're putting money away, and it's great. Like they're fulfilled.
I love my employees. SMI is an employee-first company, and I'm glad that that's what they want. And I understand that not everybody wants the same thing out of life. Now, my staff, for the most part, is not highly educated. Like these are just folks that need a job. Like they didn't go to school to become a doctor, a lawyer, or anything like that. Like these are folks that work in maintenance and they're managing. Like they're good, hardworking. This is blue collar, right? I can understand from that level, like, what are your options that are in front of you? You don't have the skill set maybe to go out and start a business or become an investor or do any of these things. What we're really talking about here are the people who really follow. This is like my mom and dad are a doctor and a lawyer, and they've lined out my whole life for me. What are they going to do? They're going to make sure I get straight A's in high school, I get into the best college that I can get into, and then I get the best job in corporate America that I get, and I start putting money in my 401k, right? I mean, this is what your smart parents are going to teach you.
And this is exactly what I was taught, right? And this is exactly what I did, and then I realized I didn't like it. So I'm not saying, I'm just trying to point out, because as a business owner, you want all these employees who want to work for you. Like, it's not bad to be an employee, and like that path is not for everyone. But for those people who want to do something that's different, like you cannot follow that.
Not at all.
Right. So I followed that exact thing. My parents were like, you're going to be an engineer. It's an awesome job. I went through, got good grades, went to college, got the job immediately after, and did that whole thing.
And you're miserable.
And I wasn't miserable.
He was miserable.
Well, actually, I kind of was. Yeah, I was.
I've listened to that episode.
Yeah, you said it.
I mean, it was a cool job. I could show up whenever, kind of do whatever. It was relaxed. Wasn't terrible, but like it was bad enough to where I made a change. Most people fall into where it's just comfortable enough and they're stuck. I had the freedom and like realized I do not want to do this the rest of my life. So then I started working on how can I not do this and started thinking about it, reading the books, going through all that. And like my solution was if I spend $12,000 a year and max out my 401k, I can get, enough money in there real quick where I can kick off enough passive income to live off of super cheaply, right? And then I really realized I didn't want to do that either. That's not the play.
So to your point, being an employee is great if you want to be an employee. To my point, when I read this slide, I get mad because I am seeing behind the curtain of why they were indoctrinating me when I was young to get into college, to get a good job, to make good money, to do these things. There was never a thought process anywhere along the way of teaching me about money or financial freedom. None. I had one class where they taught me how to balance a checkbook. That was all my financial education. Nobody taught me how to make money, invest money, spend. Well, actually, that's not true. In the 6th grade, I was in school in California, and I actually ended up on the front page of the newspaper there when they took us into back then it was called E.F. Hutton or something like this, right? What is it? Sherman Lehman Hutton now? It's stockbrokers. Are they even around? They might be out of business. They took us in there when we were kids, and they gave us a fake like $400,000. And they let us invest.
Yeah.
And I formed a company, and we had a 3-month thing, and I outperformed some index or something. So they stuck my team on the front page of the newspaper because they're basically like, yeah, you can just throw darts at a dartboard and do better than the index,
dude. You can. So we did that same experiment, and they had this whole website we would go on, and we'd invest money, and they gave us each $1 million of fake money, and we would invest in real stocks, taught by a teacher who knew nothing about finance. So all it taught us to do was randomly pick and like just throw all your money and just gamble it. And that's the whole teaching. Like all the people who made the most money just randomly gambled it away. And like it taught you nothing about actual investing. And because to be fair, like the dude teaching us was just a teacher who probably doesn't invest at all. He has his pension and that's it. And he was teaching us how to invest.
And this is why people go to a 401k or they go to a mutual fund or they go into these big index funds because they don't know. They're not Warren Buffett. We don't know how to identify value and buy a company based on this one's underpriced and that one's overpriced. I'm sure we could learn how to do it, but the average person doesn't take the time to do that. And so when we do invest, I remember I used to have a 401k and I'd see the report come out every month and it, I was like not very impressed. Like the stock market was doing really great. For some reason, my account didn't do all that wonderful. They still charged all the fees and did all the stuff. Yeah. But it was not very exciting and it didn't look like any sort of money I was ever going to be able to retire on. But to Trevor's point, I just didn't wait long enough.
You have to invest an amount that you cannot believe is enough, that's more than you think is enough, and then wait a long time. So you literally have to slam this thing with as much money as possible to actually see returns from it. If you're putting in $500 a month a year or whatever, like it's not enough. You have to get so much money into this thing so fast and wait a really long time, and it will pay off. Okay, but you have to have extreme delayed
How much money do you guys have in 401k?
None anymore.
You guys keep money in 401k?
Yeah, I probably have $15,000 right now.
I sold all of mine.
And,
what would that be like $40,000 when you retire?
I think it's gonna be like $10 million. Trevor said.
No, so
you're set. Dana's set. He's got $15,000.
No, that was one of the things that Warren Buffett talks about, though, is that he's like, if you don't actually do this for a job, put all of your money in Berkshire Hathaway. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, just follow him.
Yeah, follow.
Or put it in the Dow.
Put it in Berkshire Hathaway or the S&P 500. But
S&P.
But do it yourself. Yeah, because he's like, because they're going to charge you fees. And one of the things that he did in his letters to the shareholders was map out the difference in return, even if he like underperformed but didn't charge any fees. And so he's consistently outperformed the S&P over the last 40 years. But he was like, even the fees that they're charging you're going to have half the amount of money that you would have had.
Okay, so check this. So if you put $20,000 in, right, you maxed out, you're fresh out of college, you max out your 401k right away and you put $20,000 in.
I'm only making $50K. How am I going to put $20K in? That's like
you live off of less. I did it. You can do this. This is possible. I made $50K and I maxed it out every single year.
You put 20 in off of $50K.
Yeah, like more than 20. Whatever max was, I would put in. I think it was like 22,000.
Nobody's going to do that, but go ahead.
I did it. You can do it.
Trevor did it.
You can do it. So just doing it, maxing out for 1 year, and then waiting 45 years, you would have about $1.4 million.
It's nothing.
That's one-time investment though of $20,000. So now
one
time, no extra dollars in ever again, just one time. So if you do that now, think you do that for 10 years, right? And then you wait. It starts to compound, and it makes sense.
Compounding is pretty cool.
But you have to do that's 45 years. You have to You have to sit and wait. And I mean, it's the same thing for real estate, right? But it's just compounding so much faster, and you can leverage it so much further. But it's the same idea.
Well, so disclaimer: I don't have a 401k. I don't have any stocks. I don't have any bonds. I don't have any crypto. I only invest, and I don't even.
We opened you a high yield savings account.
Oh, thank you. I'm an investor in a savings account. What is that, like
4.25%?
Whoa!
Oh yeah.
Well, I can give up on real estate now. Just open up savings accounts.
Yeah.
I don't understand any of that stuff. And honestly, I'm not even a real estate investor. I think the way we look at this, to me, the definition of a real estate investor, I don't know, Dane's, what? You don't believe me?
You're not a real estate investor?
Yeah, what is that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
What do you think of when you hear real estate investor?
Gabe Johansson.
I hear somebody who like saves their money, and then they find a deal, and then they go park their money in a deal.
Yeah, you're going to argue you're a debt investor, right?
Okay, I don't know what I'm arguing, but I like that better. I like debt investor. Or an equity trader or something. Logan calls it equity trading. Like, to me, investor sort of has the connotation that I actually went and saved up money to go buy a piece of real estate. And so it's parked there. And the whole point of what I do is to not park money. So am I really an investor? I think I'm just a borrower. I think I am just a deal junkie who borrows as much money as I possibly can. And then I let inflation do its job.
Like this age as well.
Yeah, when I file bankruptcy, we'll do a follow-up episode. No, I mean, Curly taught me the all of these things about money creation. It's the reason why I have the U.S. debt clock on my phone, and I'm not watching the deficit. I'm watching money creation, because the more money they print, the more my assets are going up in value. And so I know that if I can put my name on as many assets as possible, this is all going to work. Now, to your point, 45 years from now, if I stuck 20 grand in 401k and I waited for 45 years, it compounds based on, the market.
Yeah, I was just running that 10%,
average,
but
10%.
It might be less.
No, nobody gets 10%.
Some people do. If you look, depending on the time frame you look at and how it's performed, you can look at any different.
So will you ever have stocks and bonds, do you think, in your portfolio? Will you invest in other things besides real estate?
Businesses.
He'll be a family office at some point.
That's different.
Yeah. Would I ever buy stocks again?
You're going to be a lender at some point.
I would lend money.
I would be a lender. That'd be the next step for me.
So if I just had, like, let's say I was just sitting on 50 mil, I would put money in like money markets or different things, just so I'd probably put in a high yield savings account. So
you just want it to be liquid.
Yeah.
But it would be earmarked for deals.
Yeah, but I would be scared to put it in the S&P if I wanted it to use it for deals, because it can just fluctuate so hard. But I mean, I would potentially put some money, maybe. I don't know. I sold it all though. Like all the stuff I had. I
don't think you would. I think if you really.
I don't know if I would. If I had enough cash, maybe, and it was just sitting there, I might. But I don't think. Yeah.
So we're really a little bit off topic, because now we're talking about, should we invest in other asset types? The point being, if you follow the traditional things that we've been taught about how to build a successful life, a successful financial life, is you follow these certain rules, and they don't ever tell us. Really the whole, like, you've got to build an asset column and you've got to use good debt to build that asset column. Nobody ever teaches you a balance sheet, what assets and liabilities are. I mean, that's all just skipped over, and I think it's skipped over because, and I'm an employer. I mean, I have a lot of employees, and so I'm not poo-pooing the idea of having businesses with employees, because every business has to have employees, and I believe that, we serve a greater good, and that we take care of our people, and they want the job, and it's great. I'm glad that I can leverage people in my business, and I'm glad I'm giving them what they want in return for that. All I'm getting at is, if you look behind the curtain, you have to understand what is actually happening, right? And so, do you want to become as smart as you can and work as hard and as long as you can to get to a retirement, so you can spend a few years of your life just being frugal? Like, to me, that's like a whole entire lifetime of just being frugal. It's being safe, but it's being frugal, and maybe that's just your personality type, and you don't care. You don't need the stuff.
So to give action steps, how do you not do that? Because everyone knows how to do that path. You go to school and
drop out in kindergarten and go sell flowers on the street corner, be a gypsy. I don't know. Like, I really feel like everybody should have some exposure to sales from a young age.
Yeah.
I think that one of the best educations I ever got in public school was doing, they leverage you to go out and sell candy bars or whatever nonsense they've got, to try to raise money for the school. And I think that of all the things I learned in elementary school, like, sure, how to add and subtract and divide is cool, and now I know about an amoeba and something else, like, that doesn't matter in my life. But knocking on doors and selling candy bars, it taught me more than I ever learned in the classroom.
No, it was a good thing to do. Yeah, we had to do that
And I always won those contests.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, we killed it.
Because my dad owned a dealership, and I'd just go in, and everybody was forced to buy it all from me. I cheated.
That's hilarious.
I knew my audience, though.
No. You used the resources that you had. That's not cheating.
Okay, so, Trevor, what do you want to talk about next on the list?
On this list of these 6 items? Or
So high school is like, to me, it's government daycare that it programs people, and I think, from a conspiracy theorist standpoint, it's indoctrination into believing whatever it is they want you to believe in. It certainly doesn't have a lot of information in there for you to become financially free or independent or to build a lot of success in your life.
There's not a lot of people that can teach you that, because you have to learn it from someone who's actually done it as well. And the people teaching you are not the people who have done that. Otherwise, they would not be there. Every once in a while, they are, because they want to share that
This
message.
is like the rich dad, poor dad thing.
Yes.
The financial, we have a lack of financial information being shared with our youth.
If you want to go find that information, you have to find it on podcasts, books, random things.
Which is a beautiful thing about the internet in today's world, is that information is available to you. It's just not in the classroom.
So, what was the public education has decreased in the last 5 years in terms of dollars, and then private education has tripled in the last, that was in the last 10 years though, but that was a slide that
parents want to take their kids out of school and put them in places that share their values and teach them the things that they want to teach.
Well, yeah, and part of it's just that you don't get any direction from high school. I left high school and I just went to college because I was supposed to go to college, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had no goals. I didn't have if you don't know what you want to do, for the record, don't go to college. Go to a trade school or take a gap year after high school. The notion that you should take the gap year in the middle of college if you can't decide, don't go to the first year of college and then decide that you don't know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing going out of high school, don't go to college.
If you can go finish college and get a technical degree, though, you do set yourself up to make a decent living. And
I totally
you can
agree
go
with
in
that.
different jobs, but the problem is you go partway through, you rack up the debt, and then you don't finish. So you have to think of it in terms of return on investment. If your parents are just going to go pay for it, go ahead and go. It doesn't matter to you. But if you have to go rack up the debt and pay for this, and you are the one paying it back, you have to think, how much am I going to make for getting this degree?
Yeah.
And is it worth it? Or do I love this thing that much and want to do it for the rest of my life, and I know that, and I need this degree to do so? And then there's cheaper ways to do it too, right? You can go to community college for 2 years. You can make college affordable still and get scholarships and really grind and do a bunch of stuff.
And there are things about college and university that can really be benefits if you get into the right one. The connections that you make can be really important. You get into the right circles, it opens doors for you that might not otherwise be opened.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of really successful people had doors opened for them through which college they went to. So that part of it makes a lot more sense to me than the education itself, unless you're going to be in a profession that requires, a degree.
Yeah.
But that's just relationship building. That's a skill, right?
Yeah, but you get access. You get access to
Yeah.
people you wouldn't otherwise have access.
No question. No question. And I don't want to say that I don't think you should. My finance degree has helped me a lot, but it was only after I sat down and I was like, what am I doing here? This is I was a year into college.
You're saying it's not a great place to go to try to figure out what you want to do.
It's terrible.
It's a great place to go once you've figured it out and you know that college is going to serve the purpose that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the other thing that it can do is lock you into something you don't want to be doing. But then to Trevor's point, you're like, well, I got to finish. And so you're 2 years down the road or 3 years down the road. You don't want to switch degrees at that point. And then you're just like, well, I got to get it done now. And then you lock yourself into a to engineering job, and then you work for nuclear power plant company, and then you hate it.
So there's something interesting. We haven't put this episode out yet, but in one of our last episodes, Trevor decided he wanted to have a university level understanding of macroeconomics, and he built through ChatGPT. He built a what do you call that?
A syllabus.
Syllabus. He built a syllabus,
an outline,
a 6-month course of an outline telling him, here's the books you read, here's the videos you watch, here's what you do. He built himself his own college course. He'll do that now because he's motivated. He wants to learn about macroeconomics. but there's something to be said for now. If you can have that education for free or close to free, you might have to buy a few books or something.
It costs like $40 maybe.
You can also audit any public university.
So that class, if you wanted to take that class, would cost you $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever
it may be. Yeah.
Take that class. So anybody.
And I'm also now learning from the main people who teach that, right? So the dude who wrote the most popular book on economics, that's the best information.
He's your teacher. You're just not sitting in a classroom where you can raise your hand or go to coffee afterwards and talk. Like you don't have the connections,
the community around
it. And the network that might open the door if you were at the university, but you're still going to have the knowledge of somebody who has a Harvard degree in macroeconomics.
As long as I stick with it and fall through, but yeah.
For the record, any public university, you can audit the classes for free. You don't have to pay for public. You pay for credits.
I heard you
education.
can go all the way through a Harvard education.
You can,
and you just don't get and it's free. And you don't get. You just don't get the degree.
Yeah,
they have all their classes online.
Okay. So there's another question.
You're paying for credits. You're not paying for the education.
So the piece of paper that you take from college at the end, that's what gets you the job. How come it's not the education you actually get?
Well, because you can't prove it otherwise. Because they don't grade your papers. So you're getting.
Could you
paid
challenge
for
the test and try to get a degree?
I don't know.
Pay for the degree?
I wouldn't think so. No, I wouldn't think so. That'd be sick. Though.
Trying to game the system.
Yeah.
Okay. So college. So to some people, college can be super valuable, but ultimately, college is there to make money, and they're there to train you to go get a job. There might be some courses you could take around being an entrepreneur, starting a business, running a business. But to Trevor's point, the person you need to learn from might not work at that college.
Yes. And I think there's tons of valuable information at college. The idea is really cool. I think it would be cool if we went back now. I want to learn real estate law and I could go to Willamette and just pay to take a class.
You can.
I can. Yeah. But I don't know how that would be looked upon. But that seems like a cool way to go about it. I have this specific thing I want to learn. They have a class for it. I can go show up in person. Great.
I think you can just go sit in there.
Yeah.
Can't you?
That's auditing. Yeah.
That's what he's talking about.
Courses. Yeah.
All right, Trevor's an auditor now.
Yeah,
the creepy guy in the back of your classroom is Trevor. He did not pay tuition.
We had a professor at Oregon State, Stephen Hodges, I think is his name, and he had the most credits of anybody who had ever attended Oregon State, I believe. And when I was there, he was at like 280 credits or something, which at that school is like 12 years worth of degrees or so. Yeah. No, it was like 12 years of full-time.
So he wanted to be a teacher.
No, he actually owned his own software company. Oh. And then he was also a professor just because he did all his work virtually and he just liked learning. And he loved teaching other people. He was a super cool professor.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so from college, we get the job. Corporate America, if you're W-2, this is where we get into now money, tomorrow money. Whether or not you're working for yourself or you're working for somebody else, we like to own businesses and be independent contractors and stuff like that because we can work the tax advantages. We're our own boss. We don't answer to anybody. That, for me, is really important because I am an entrepreneur because I can't be an employee. Maybe if I could, life would be a little simpler for me. But from the very first time I ever punched into my job, I couldn't do it. I knew that there was just no way I was going to be able to sell my time, and so I'm just naturally entrepreneurial, and not everybody is wired that way. A lot of people feel like, I want the steady, I want the 9 to 5, I want the rhythm, I want the routine, I want the paycheck each month. Like a lot of people want the same thing. They want to know, like if I told them like, hey, you could make $20,000 this month, but you might not make another check for 3 months. People are like,
no thanks.
But if I said I'll pay you $5,000 every month, yep, I'm in for that. Like I would rather have the steady $5,000 than know that I could go much higher. So this is, some people are commission based or they can,
Sure. But for the people who want to do deals and want to run businesses and be entrepreneurial, like anyone can do it actually. Mm-hmm. Like truly anyone can do it, don't you think?
Sure. I don't think I think it's hard, but I don't think it's as hard as you might think it is.
I think jumping in and taking the first step is the hardest part. And then once you learn to do that, you overcome that, and then your next problem is now you're trying to do too many things by taking that same thing.
Here's what I'll say is I believe that it's not intelligence or work ethic. that keeps people from becoming entrepreneurial or owning their own businesses. I think it's just guts. I think it's really less about brains, and it's just more about, do I have the guts to do it or not?
So the hard part is you have an unknown outcome on the back end, and you don't know if it will be successful because it's not guaranteed. So you have to have faith and make that jump.
And what if it doesn't work?
That's a very real possibility. And then you have to try again and be okay with that.
Because it probably
won't work the first time.
That's probably what keeps people from trying, knowing that it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what if it doesn't work, though? I mean, what's the worst thing that happens? You have to...
So you either learn from...
there's any possibility that it does not work if you're actually putting the effort in terms of entrepreneurship. If you're starting a business or trying to create a product or deliver a service, there is a non-zero, but close to 0% chance that if you're putting all of the effort in and you're a reasonably competent person, it will work. And the reason being, why? So great example is Gabe. Gabe doesn't know what he does for work. I don't know what your job is.
Am I reasonably competent?
No, that's what it's like. Yeah, Gabe and I are both just, I have no idea what I'm doing half the time, but I'm going to figure it out. And the biggest thing that you do all the time is create value for other people. And if you're intentionally trying to create value for other people, at some point you will be compensated for that. It's just waiting. That's all it is. The money always comes back around because that's how the market runs, is how much value has been created. That's what you do all the time. The first year I worked with Trevor, every time somebody was like, we want to pay you to do this thing that's kind of like brokering, but not technically be the broker on the deal, but we want to pay you for it. Trevor would be like, I just like doing deals. You don't have to pay me for it. A dude came to us and he was like, I'll give you half my broker fee if you run the deal and tell me run the numbers on it and then help me do the paperwork. And Trevor was like, you don't have to pay me for that. And I was like, that's our job. That's what you're like, yeah, but I was just trying to help him out. Oh, yeah, no, and he's trying to pay you for helping him out. That's what the market does. Do you guys not agree on the value side of things?
It rewards value. You're right.
Every time. Yeah. Every time. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You could figure it out with flowers. I guarantee that Trevor, I wouldn't want to do it, but I bet Trevor could make $100,000 next year selling flowers if he brute forced it.
I also want to say that I think you two guys have a much higher level of intelligence than the average person. And so
we had Dane take the IQ test lower than average.
I thought we had him take the autism.
What? Oh, that's...
Yeah.
Never mind. No, sorry. Disregard. Continue forward.
He's much higher than average. No.
That was rude.
Wrong test. Wrong test.
I did score really poorly on the autism and empathy test.
So, but you guys may feel like something when you say there's close to a 0 chance of failure if you continue to do it. I think, not everybody has the same skill set. Not everybody has the same work ethic.
No, and they're not in the same life position where they can take that risk. Yeah. If you have kids to feed, you can't take the chance that it might not work the first time, and you might not have the time frame to keep feeding your kids.
Yeah, and that's why women want to be more conservative, is because they've got the nest to protect. You got to keep a roof over their head. You got to keep food on the table. You got they would much rather have a much smaller amount of money and have it be steady than to have big spikes in income. They don't want to play I call that lottery thinking, and this comes out of the car business. Is car salesmen, they're on the eat what you kill pay plan like a broker is, and so they might make minimum wage if they don't sell anything, but you make minimum wage 1 or 2 months and the company fires you, so you don't get to. You're always going to be making more than minimum wage, but you really only make what you produce. And a car salesman is always looking for that big, whopper of a commission or whatever, right? Just like a broker is. Mm-hmm. And I call it lottery thinking, because rather than trying to stack a bunch of little ones together, they're always out looking for the big, they want to land the big whale or whatever, and that, it's just because it's more exciting. But it's like, oh man, if I sold that car or I sold that building, I would get this paycheck, and then life would be somehow better because awesome. I got a big, huge check instead of a small check or whatever. Yeah. And that's just not a conservative mindset. Doesn't think like that.
Yeah. It's not bad to be a conservative mindset, though, on a lot of things. It's very helpful, useful skill. And I think to give some people something actionable, like if they are trying to jump into what we're doing or doing deals or businesses, you don't have to jump in fully all at once. Like when I started spending all my extra hours trying to build this thing and do this stuff until I saw enough success where I was reasonably confident that I could stop my W-2. So like people think like they have to go all in right away. Like you can, that is an option. But like if you guys are trying to do this, you can start out slow and start doing this on the side, but you have to sacrifice your free time, right? You're going to spend less time doing other things.
So if you're single right now and you're listening to this, go do what Trevor and Dane are doing and start becoming entrepreneurial. Take your risks now. If you're married and you have children, or you just have children and a spouse, you may be making some different choices. So what would you guys have done differently? You don't even know. If you had now you have spouses but you don't have children. So now what? Like do you go to your girlfriends and ask them if it's okay to do a deal?
Are you asking me if I do this right now?
Yeah.
No.
I've made it. No, it's very clear that I'm going to be in control of the money.
But that's because we've been doing it already, so there's confidence
there.
You
were doing it before you met them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for people who are stuck in that position and they're running into the roadblock of...
My wife says no.
And if it's two ways, you can do it without her. Or if you're trying to convince her of it, the way to do so is to paint the future outcome that you get from doing this thing potentially, and then she ideally is on board with that. But the way to do it and not take on as much risk is like you're dipping your toe and doing a little bit at a time type of thing.
I've seen a lot. I don't know if this is American culture or what, but it seems like, the now men and women both work, but the guy is in charge of, going to work and bringing home as much money as he can, and the wife is typically the one who sort of pays the bills and keeps things in check so that you don't run out of money. It's kind of like the wife typically plays the bookkeeper. I don't know. Even in my house, Jan pays the bills, but I don't bring her into the conversations about what deals I'm doing and what I'm. She knows a little bit, but no deal ever lives or dies based on her opinion. Mm-hmm. But she also trusts me, and I just started. We just have that relationship to where I was already doing that anyway. So I think it's one of the biggest roadblocks to getting out of this so-called trap that we're talking about today of, play it safe and go get a job and get the education and do all that. I think that, if you're married, your husband or your wife, sometimes it's the husband that is the one that says, and it's really just a lack of knowledge. Like you guys just said, you got to paint the picture and tell them what we're trying to get to, and there's got to be some buy-in, because it's not fair for two people in a relationship to be like, we've got things sort of set up the way we like it, and now you're going to run off and screw it all up, and now people probably listen to us talk about losing millions of dollars and doing all this, and they're like like, nope, I wouldn't be married to that guy. Yeah. I mean, it is risky, but but it's worth it.
There's levels to it also.
There's levels to this.
Yeah, like you don't have to go take on all the, like if you're creating a service-based company that's just based off your time and doesn't require investment or signing on debt, like the risk is you're losing time.
Also, Gabe skipped like 4 levels when he lost a couple $1 million. That was his fault. He should have. Yeah, that was poor planning.
All right, I want to talk about deals.
Okay.
Should we do a full?
We never even got to the part where the government takes all the money.
Okay,
but that's okay. We talk about that all the time anyway.
Yeah, I do.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, whatever you've been taught is it's been taught to you so that somebody else could make money on you. And so if you're okay with that and you're comfortable in your life, then keep letting that happen. And if you're not, you want to be entrepreneurial, buy businesses, buy buildings, go out on your own, take risk. And, hey, what the heck? If you lose, and you just keep going anyway. It's all right. You'll be all right. It'll be okay.
I like that.
Go find a friend.
Leverage other people.
Go find a friend to cry on their shoulder and then go do it again.
You can definitely cry on Gabe's shoulder. He'll let you if you call him. He meets with anybody.
But I'm going to laugh. Just
That's
so
the
you
best
know.
friend you need.
Just so you know.
That's what you need in that moment. That was the best part of when Trevor was really short on funds, and maybe had a little bit of debt that he needed to pay off and didn't know how to make money. And you were like, Gabe, how do I solve this problem? And you started laughing, and you just said, go sell some deals. There was no like, he was like, but I don't know how. And you're like, yeah, you do. You just got to go do it. What do you mean? This is perfect. Like, this is where you want to be. All right, let's talk about deals.
Deals. Dane's going to pitch.
You want to go
me
into another episode and we'll just do deals in the next episode?
Sure.
Let's do that. Let's close out here.
Okay. Okay. We're gonna sign off for now, and we're gonna come back and talk about deals in our next episode. Can I give a little shout out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
right.
PM.
I want to do a little shout out to SMI Property Management. This is a company I own, so this is shameless self promotion. We have expanded. We are in Albany, Corvallis, Lebanon, Sweet Home. So we have a really nice portfolio we're managing down south, and now we move north. And so we are also Portland, surrounding markets, and Vancouver, Washington. So anybody out there that is interested in having their property managed, we are interesting because we do manage 200-plus unit complexes, but really I believe that our strong suit is like 5 to 50 unit projects. We do a lot of smallplex and houses also. So if you're just getting started, we do a great job with investors that want to scale their portfolios up. And, of course, you come into the SMI ecosystem, and we've got a capital team, and we've got a brokerage team, and we've got other ways for you to grow your portfolio. So think of SMI Property Management if anybody you're talking to is in need. We do residential and commercial, so we do also manage commercial buildings. It's not really what we're known for, but we manage probably 50 commercial buildings. But the primary focus is on multifamily, smallplex, and apartments. SMI Property Management. All right, guys. Thanks for listening to Deal Junkies. Please share us with your friends, and we will see you next time.